Hey, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. I'm your host, Jayson Gaddis, and I'm grateful to be here with you. This podcast is for you if you want to grow through relationship, if you want to face yourself in the context of the relationships in your life, if you want to learn about yourself in this crazy dance called partnership and intimacy. Okay, in this episode, we're going to get into conflict. That's right, we're going to fight, me and you. Just kidding. I'm actually going to do a 3-part series here on conflict, partly because it is so vital. I've done episodes on conflict before, and I really wanted to come back in, and we'll continue to talk about conflict because it's the thing that people suck at the most in long-term relationships. It's also the thing that tears families apart and friendships apart and has people feeling really hurt, betrayed, left, lost, just stabbed in the back. So much comes up for us in regards to conflict. And I am wanting to build a better world by giving people tools to navigate conflict. And that's one of the biggest things we learn here at the Relationship School is how to do conflict well. Okay, because it's not going to not happen. It's always going to be a part of your life. Whether you like it or not, just look at your own experience. There's been conflict with other people since probably you were born or sometime in your childhood. It's just part of life, right? So do you want to be a mature person that can handle conflict and is a go-to resource in your community as someone who can handle it? Or do you want to keep running away or acting young and shrinking away from it? And there's just so much power and potency in conflict. I feel like at the sort of one of my biggest missions in life with the Relationship School is helping people work out their differences with other people. That's it. So that's what we're going to learn in this episode and the next 3 episodes, in fact. So I'm going to do a 3-part series. This part is before conflict. The second part is during conflict. And part 3 will be after conflict. Okay? Before, during, and after conflict. So in this episode, we'll get into before. All right, so there's basically 10 rules or agreements that I want you to have before you get into a conflict with your partner or your closest people in your life. All right, we want to set the context for people that we care about in our life that like, hey, if and when we get into conflict, can we have some agreements? Can we have some do's and don'ts laid out? And a good partner, friend, someone who's actually going to show up in the relationship will say, okay, yeah, that sounds interesting. Hell yeah. So we want those kind of people in our lives that are willing to proactively set up a plan for when times get tough. This is also good for a business partnership, by the way. Okay. So there's 10 rules or agreements to have in place before you get into a conflict. And you're welcome to have 2 of these in place, 1 of them, all 10 of them, your call, right? Okay, agreement number 1 is that we're going to set context that we're in a relationship that's agile, meaning we are able to learn about ourselves. This means you adopt the growth mindset, because if you don't, one of you doesn't, then you're going to endlessly frustrate that you're willing to work it out and the other person isn't. You're willing to see your side and the other person isn't. If you can't agree to a context like this, the other steps are kind of pointless. You're just going to have a rough go of it. I mean, imagine being with someone for many, many years who was a no to learning about themselves and their part in a conflict. You can't work anything out with that person. You're left to just working it out with yourself, right? Which, by the way, can be done. But, if you want a successful long-term relationship, you got to both be in that kind of mindset, okay? So number 1 is mindset. Number 2, you agree to make clear agreements like these. That, hey, when we fight, we will repair. When we get into a disagreement, we will speak respectfully. When one of us shuts down and goes away, they will come back, and no matter what, even if they're scared or hurt. The point of agreements is they provide boundaries, just to say, yeah, we agree to this, okay? It's like rules of the game. Hey, we agree to fight fairly. We agree to speak respectfully. We agree to both own our part. We agree to get help from a coach or therapist if we get stuck and we can't figure it out ourselves. That kind of thing, okay? So number 2, agreements. Number 3, you want to have the mindset to say yes to conflict. So you're going to embrace conflict. Embrace conflict. I know, that's kind of a misnomer, but that's right. Embracing conflict will help you in your relationship life. And a certain kind of conflict, right? That doesn't mean embracing someone who's hitting you. It means that you're embracing the fact that conflict comes up and you're willing to say yes to working through it. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. So we're going to have the mindset and the attitude of saying yes to conflict. That's number 3. Number 4, I agree to not blame you. I'm just not going to blame myself or you. Instead, I'm going to take responsibility. Okay? So blame and responsibility go hand in hand here. We're not talking about shaming yourself. That's not responsibility. Blaming yourself isn't taking responsibility. Saying, hey, here's my part, that is. In the relationship school, I like to invite people into a practice of no blame just to notice how much you blame. It's really interesting. The only time that, to me, it's okay to blame is when you're following that up with getting underneath what's driving your judgment of the other person. And that's totally fine because you need to blame. Blaming's a part of life. It's like, that person, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, let me cool off. Now that I'm calm, I'm going to see my part. Okay, so number 4, I'm not going to blame. And instead, I'm going to take responsibility. Number 5, I agree to speak with care and respect. Okay, that means no name calling, no raising my voice to the point of terrifying the other person, no throwing them under the bus with my friends and talking shit about them. Instead, I'm going to have an attitude of, hey, friends, I'm in this really big snag with my partner. Can you help me see my side? Instead of, yeah, they're so lame. Can you believe they did that? All right. So we're going to speak with care and respect in front of them and behind them. Number 6, I agree to not make threats of leaving. Okay. When you make, and we'll get into this in the next episode, we're going to talk about the 3 types of fights that people get into. And when you make threats of leaving the relationship, that sends someone into their animal brain, and they feel, whether they want to or not, they're going to feel attacked or like they're being abandoned. And depending on their history, that's one of the worst things you can say to another human being. I'm out of here. I don't know if this relationship is for me. It might seem innocuous and not that big of a deal, but usually on the receiving end, that sucks to hear. So don't make threats of leaving. Talk about it respectfully if that's on the table, but don't make threats. Okay? Number 7, I agree that if we start an argument or disagreement, we're going to finish it. Oh yeah, finish it. I did a podcast a while back on going to bed angry. Is that okay or not? Go listen to that episode. It's up to you. There's no rule here. Just find your way. The agreement that you need to have, whether it's before bed or not, is that we're going to finish it, whether it's now or tomorrow. And we're going to finish it as soon as possible, because the longer we wait, the more our body and the brain and the nervous system gets the message that the other person is threatening to us, and we will continue to stay defensive because they're feeling like a threat. So you want to clean it up as fast as possible. Number 8, I agree to learn and know tools that will help me work through conflict. So this means I'm going to learn how to listen to you until you feel understood. That's a tool we teach in the relationship school called LUFU. You may have heard of it. I'm going to learn to speak in a way that you can understand. So I'm going to learn about your values and what you care about. So I'm not just laying my trips all over you. I might learn how to set a boundary and say, I'm not ready to talk yet. Okay, these are all awesome tools that we want to learn if we're going to go into challenging conversations, because challenging conversations activate our sympathetic nervous system into sympathetic arousal, and they put us in more of a hypervigilant defensive posture. And if you don't have tools, when you're activated, you're going to resort to what you've always done or what you watched your parents do. And you know where that goes. So that's why we learn tools at the relationship school, because they help us effectively work through adversity and challenge and conflict with other people, because other people are challenging. Okay, number 9, I agree to go vulnerable as quickly as possible. Now, vulnerability here means I'm going to extend when I don't want to. I'm going to speak first. I'm going to offer to listen first. I'm going to share that I'm scared and terrified, and I feel like I don't want to be around you, but I'm staying here. I'm staying in the room. I'm scared to look at you. Okay, that's vulnerability. And the person that leads with vulnerability usually softens the other person. And sometimes vulnerability is just a gesture. You're laying in bed angry at each other, side by side, the lights are out. You just had a fight, you're going to bed pissed. Both of you are triggered. You can feel it in the room. It feels terrible. You're going to reach over and put your hand on their leg or your hand in their hand and saying, honey, I'm really struggling right now. Behind my defensive wall here and my fear, I care about you. I know that I do somewhere inside, and I want to work this out with you. Or you don't even have to say anything. Just put your hand on their shoulder and just breathe. Okay, that's being vulnerable, because sometimes the most vulnerable thing you can do is reach through your fear to the other person as an acknowledgement. All right? Awesome. Number 10, the 10th thing we're going to do before we get into a conflict, we're going to agree that we're going to learn how to repair effectively. So my wife and I have been working on this since we met, basically. How do we repair effectively? How can we be even better at repair? Just the other night, we had a snag, and we then talked about it the next day of like, I think we need to do something different again. We need to tweak this a little more. We're always working on our repair. How can we repair effectively? So we have an agreement ahead of time that says, yeah, we are going to keep learning how to repair effectively because it's better for both of us. It sucks to be in a house of tension. It sucks to go to bed in a bed where you feel the chasm between the two of you, or where one of you is in the basement or on the couch. That sucks. So you both want to be motivated to get the repair done as soon as possible. And it's going to go against the animal in you that sees the other person as a monster or the demon or, just a terrible person in that moment as a big threat. Okay, you're just projecting stuff from your childhood usually onto the other person. And you need to be able to see that. Okay, so the last step here before we get into a conflict is just to agree that we're going to repair effectively. So these are all agreements that you guys can just listen to this podcast together. Will you listen to this with me, honey? Sit down and be like, can we put some of these agreements in place? Which ones are realistic for us, given who we are? What can we do? And if you do none of them at all, except one, please choose the very first one, which says, I am going to learn and grow. And we're both going to do that. Everything else should take care of itself. If you have an open mind and a growth mindset, that's how you operate is, I don't know how to do any of this, but I'm willing to learn. Okay. All right. This is very, very important stuff. It's amazing to me that so many people do not have these types of conversations before they get married or before their first fight or after years and years of fighting, they still won't have this conversation. So if that's you, yeah, I'm calling you out, calling you forward saying, guys, you can do better. Just set up some agreements and say, whoa, let's do conflict differently. And by the way, conflict doesn't necessarily mean going at it with each other, both raising your voice. Conflict sometimes is just a tremendous amount of distance and silence. That's conflict. When people aren't talking to each other, when one of you is, in your language, some of you listeners use the word stonewalling, right? Gaslighting, stonewalling, all these terms. It's okay, like whatever term you want, that's all conflict, okay? So we're just saying treating each other not well and not learning how to do this thing called working out your differences well is a recipe for failure and isolation. And don't think that it's the person you're with that sucks, okay? Part of your job is to learn how to handle them. That's one of our 7 commitments here at the Relationship School is learning how to handle your own shit and theirs when you get activated under stress. That's part of partnership, guys, whether you like it or not. All right. Now, if you want a deeper dive on this, we're going to continue in the next 2 episodes. So this is the before conflict episode. The next one is during. I'm going to give you some tips on what to do during your disagreements, arguments, and conflicts, distance. Okay, what do you do? And then finally, in the third part series, we're going to talk about afterwards. How are we after? And part of that is the repair, and part of that is looking back. All right. And if you want an even deeper dive, then come here to Boulder, Colorado for our Embracing Conflict weekend. As far as I can tell, it's the only weekend workshop on relationship conflict that I'm aware of. And I'm teaching it here in Boulder, Colorado, November 9th, 10th, and 11th. Okay, let me just double check that. Yeah, November 9th, 10th, and 11th. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday here in Boulder. And there is a special coupon code if you're listening just for Smart Couple listeners. If you sign up now, by the way, we have an early bird price going on until October 15th. If you sign up now, you can have $100 off. Just enter the coupon code at the checkout, Smart Couple, okay, to get $100 off. And remember this, what's cool about this weekend is you can bring a friend for half price. Bring a friend for half price. That's a pretty sweet deal. So it can bring, a close friend of yours or your partner. You can drag them along or invite them, however you want to do it. Okay, so come to the Relationship School's Embracing Conflict weekend. The URL for that is relationshipschool.net/embracing conflict. And then remember to use your $100 coupon code. Okay, Smart Couple. And that tells us, hey, you've been listening to the podcast, you're psyched to come learn. There's going to be a group of amazing human beings there, not only to help you, but just in the soup with you. And let's get this part of our life dialed, please. So let's make this world a brighter place by learning, finally, how to do conflict. Okay, I'm going to give you the playbook. All right? Okay, thanks everybody, and we'll talk very soon.
I'm feeling extremely energized. I am generally a conflict avoider, and now I feel like I can lean into conflict and do it without the fear that somebody else is going to blow up. I know some ways to approach the conversation better, and therefore I can resolve some of the things that have been bothering me, but I've been stuffing. I debated for probably 4 or 5 weeks about the program, and I was weighing the cost I was also just wondering how much I was going to get out of it because I'm single and not in a relationship right now. And so I was concerned about not having practice partners and really the immediate need to apply the tools. But I'll be able to apply this in every walk of my life.